strong.
So hello everyone, it's Kidz here. Are you ready to get started? Let's get started. So hello everyone, our lesson this week is the calling of Gideon from Judges chapter 6 verses 1 through 16. So I'm going to send you over to Miss Latoya for our memory verse and prayer, and I'll see you right back here in just a minute.
Welcome back. It's time for our memory verse. Hey. This week, super excited, we're in the book of Judges, chapter 6, verse 16. But first, I have one vocab word for you. The word is defeat. That means to win or conquer. So, for example, maybe you're playing your favorite board game with your friend. And guess what? You won. Maybe Monopoly, you got that boardwalk in our park place and you won. So you defeated your partner in this game. You won. Here's our verse. And the Lord said to him, surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midianites as one man. That's the book of Judges, chapter 6, verse 16. Join me, Miss Toya, next week for another verse and some words. Bye-bye. All right, it's time to pray to start our lesson. Bow your heads and close your eyes. Here we go. Dear Lord, thank you for another Sunday to hear your word and learn about you. Thank you to Miss Cleo for sharing the word with us on this Sunday. Thank you for our children for joining once again to learn. May they share one thing they learned today with someone else. And last but not least, we thank you for your continued healing, continued blessings, and what you're going to do in advance. Amen. All right, back to Miss Cleo for our lesson for today.
So welcome back everyone. As I said, our lesson this week is the calling of Gideon from Judges chapter 6, verses 1 through 16. Now last week, our lesson was on the Gibeonites tricking Joshua. Does anybody remember what did they do? They showed up at the Israelites' camp pretending to be foreigners from a faraway country, and that they wanted to just be servants of theirs, pretending that they had never heard of the miracles that God had done for them. And they wanted to make this agreement that Joshua and the children of Israel would not fight against them. And let me ask, did Joshua make this agreement with them? He did. But he did it without doing what? He did it without seeking God's approval. He didn't go to God and ask God whether that was something he should have did. So now, Joshua eventually dies, and God raises up judges. And these judges are supposed to be fair, and they have wisdom, and they are also to protect the children of Israel at times against their enemies surrounding them. Well, this one judge name is Gideon, and we're going to see how God uses him. So I'm going to be reading from The Bible Made Easy for Kids by Dave Streeter. Things did not always go well with the Israelites. In fact, whenever they turned away from God and started to worship the gods of the heathen nations living in the land, God allowed enemies from all sides to attack them. But whenever they followed God by obeying him, things went well and they had peace. Now, the children of Israel at times were walking away from God. They are now in the land of Canaan, but there are still other nations there. In these nations, they worship idols, false gods. The children of Israel started worshiping some of these false gods too. And that really angered God when they started doing this. So he would allow at times their enemies to come and attack them. Years had come and gone since the Israelites had crossed the Jordan into the Promised Land. They had won many battles and seen many miracles. God had used judges like Othniel, Ehud, and Deborah to free the Israelites from those who were cruel to them. But the Israelites again did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and so he allowed the Mennonites to raid and attack them. The Mennonites had come up from an area south of Moab called Midian. For 7 years they killed the sheep and cattle of the Israelites and destroyed their crops. They were so powerful that the Israelites lived in the mountains, hiding in shelters and caves. Then the Israelites cried to the Lord for help. Wow. The Mennonites, this was a group of people that they would go in and conquer other nations, and they would steal from them. They would just raid their whole camp, take what they can take from them. Well, while the children of Israel are worshiping other gods, God had allowed these people to come in. But now the children of Israel are crying out to God. And every time they would cry out to God, God would answer them. So now God is going to answer them. One night, while Gideon was thrashing wheat, separating the seeds from the stalk, the angel of the Lord came to him and said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hands." Gideon answered, "But Lord, how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." The angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord in the Old Testament is Jesus. Jesus has showed up to Gideon and is calling him a mighty warrior and is telling him he is the one who's going to save Israel. Gideon responds, "Lord, I am from the weakest family, Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." God is telling Gideon, which he also tells us, he wants to use our lives to show us that we can do great things, even when we think we can't. He said, "I will be there with you." The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will defeat the Midians as if they were one man." At this time, the Midianites had crossed over the Jordan and were in the Promised Land. They, together with other armies, were coming to attack the Israelites. The Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and he sent messengers throughout the countryside of Manasseh, calling everyone to help fight the Midianites. Then Gideon prayed and asked for a sign that the Lord would help him. He said, "If you will save Israel as you have promised, show me this day." And this is Gideon making this request of the Lord. "I will put a fleece of wool on the threshing floor tonight. Tomorrow morning, if there is dew only on the fleece and the ground is dry, then I will know that you will use me to save Israel." Gideon's request. He is asking of the Lord, "I want to take a fleece, a piece of wool, and I want to lay it on the floor. And in the morning, I want it to have the dew. Like in the morning when you go outside and you feel that wetness on the flowers and in the grass, let dew be on the fleece and let the ground around it be dry." When Gideon got up early the next morning, the fleece was so wet that he squeezed a bowl full of water from the wool. Then Gideon prayed again and said, "Lord, please don't be angry with me, but let me ask one more thing. Allow me to make one more test with the fleece. This time, let the fleece stay dry and the ground around it be wet with dew." So now he's asking just the opposite. He says, "Lord, let the ground be wet and let the fleece be dry." During the night, God did what Gideon asked. In the morning, the fleece was dry, but the ground was covered with dew. Gideon asked for a sign from the Lord to make very sure that what he was about to do was truly his plan. Others would be part of the plan to fight against the Midianites, and if things went wrong as they had in Ai, he would be responsible. Gideon is asking God to make sure in his heart that he is the one. God already knows he's the one. Gideon wants to be sure that God is really calling him. So God has granted his wishes. He has proved to him that he is the one he is calling. Now in our lives, we make decisions, and maybe your decisions, since you're little young people, don't really have big decisions, but your decisions are important to you. And how can you make sure that it's really God talking to you at times and just not your imagination? Well, for one, pray about it. Pray about it. For two, talk to your parents about it. Or if you have Christian friends, ask your Christian friends. Because sometimes God will use their advice to help guide you. And lastly, if you're willing to do what God says, he will make the way clear for you. So he said, I will never leave you or forsake you. Anytime we feel as though we can't do something, we need to cry out to him and let him know. And he is saying, I will be there. I will guide you. He will help you. Now, we're going to find out a little bit more about Gideon next week. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Be strong.